Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and I wanted to reminisce a little about a board game that I used to play when I was a kid. Star Trek The Next Generation Interactive VCR board game. Yes, kids, a VCR. This is a device where you would put a rectangular tape into. I don't think it played more than 2 or 3 hours of video at a time. You had to rewind and fast forward to get to the parts that you wanted. Times were a lot different back then. We didn't have CDs. So, back then in the early 1990s, there was this game, and you played the VHS tape while you were playing the game, and every so often the antagonist would come on screen and bark orders at you or tell you to do something. And that's what this game's all about. You play the part of next generation crew members, who are the only ones left on board the Enterprise D. This Klingon beams on board the Enterprise, steals it, and is heading to, I guess, Klingon space to start a war. And you'll recognize the actor if you're familiar with Star Trek at all. He's Gowron from The Next Generation. This particular game, I think, was released in 1993, and the Klingon that looks like Gowron in this, Gowron had a couple of parts in Next Gen in 1990 and 1991. I think episodes Reunion and Redemption, maybe? Anyway, I'm just showing my Trek nerddom here. So anyway, this game was released a couple of years after the Gowron character made his way onto the Next Gen episodes, and it's no surprise that, he made it onto this because the Gowron character had really buggy eyes and he had this weird scowl. Anyway, so getting back to the game, you play as crew members, you're on the Enterprise, and what you're trying to do is you're moving your character around the Enterprise, trying to land on these computer access spaces that you can draw from this deck. And your main objective is to acquire 5 levels of isolinear chip access. Now, in the actual board game that I had, there were not real tricorders. They were plastic, cardboard tricorders, whatever. And you got the isolinear chips and you would slide them into your tricorder as you got access. In this game, I guess the developer behind this mod didn't do that. He instead just did these 5 cards, which is understandable. And in order to get these levels of access, you had to land on these computer access spaces, and hopefully you got a card that gave you access. It would give you instructions. I'll get into that in a minute. But what you had to do was you get all 5 levels of access, get a phaser, which is in the security room over here, then make your way to the bridge, and then stun Kavak with your phaser. And you had to do that before the time limit on the VCR VHS tape ran out. I think it was like a 45, 50-minute experience, something like that. So, on your turn, you would roll a 6-sided die. You would move your character that many spaces. It's been 20 years, so I don't have all of the rules down pat. And then if you landed on computer access, you'd flip it over. When you get to 10 forward, use this access card to gain computer security clearance and receive your next isolinear chip. So I would keep this until I made my way around the board to 10 forward here, and then I could turn this card in, and then I could get my level 1 isolinear chip as the red player. And depending on what level access you have access to different parts of the board. The holodeck access is at level 1, so when you have level 1 access, you can land on these holodeck spaces. And when you land on the holodeck spaces, you can flip one of these holodeck cards over, and you'll get something special. When you enter any room, receive your next level isolinear chip. Release yourself once from a stasis field. On occasion, Kavak will come on board or come on the tape there and say you're in a stasis field or whatever. Avoid one trip to sickbay. Each crew member will immediately give you access to their computer access cards. Each crew member will not give you their next turn. So on. So these holodeck cards will help you out whenever you have level 1 access. Level 2 access is the turbo lift. The turbo lift is a fast travel system, so when you land on one turbo lift, you can fast travel to another turbo lift like that. 3 is phaser access. This allows you to land on the security room and grab a phaser. In this case, it's just a little go token. And then level 4 is stasis immunity. Like I said, on occasion, Kavak will come on the tape and say, you are now in a stasis field. Now, I don't see any stasis field things. I don't know what I'm supposed to do about that, but I guess we'll just keep track somehow via some kind of object. Again, you be creative. And then 5 is finally bridge access. This will allow you to enter the turbo lift, get to here. Now, in the board game, there were, I think, 4 or 6 tokens. Half of them were computer access denied, and the other half were you stun Kavak. In this case, it's just the heads or tails flip, coin flip. So, yeah, I mean, it was a 50-50 shot whenever you got here on the board game, and I guess it makes sense that the developer just went with a coin on that. Heads you win, tails you lose, I guess. So, yeah, I don't know how copyright stands. Like, I don't want to play this and get hit with copyright. Again, this is an old game, but this is still Star Trek domain. I don't know. So I'll just play a little bit of it. You are the only crew members on board the USS Enterprise. Alright, we'll skip that.
As a Klingon warrior, I can no longer endure this alliance between the Klingon Empire and the Federation.
Okay, so a lot of times you're just going to be staring at that. So you have to wait for him to do something. On occasion, he'll come and say, experience Beige. Beige is a nasty card. It's usually bad. Unless it says low-level malfunction on the screen, in which case you do the good thing. So in most cases, it's bad. Yeah, but if it says low-level malfunction when he pops up, then you can do the good thing. So let's see if I can find some interactive stuff here. I don't want to ruin the experience if you guys want to try this for yourself, but...
Choose another crew member. Now! Who did you pick? Wise selection, human. You may yet prove to be a challenge. That crew member is placed in a stasis field.
Okay, so yeah, you're going to be dealing with stuff like that, experience, Beige. You also have ranks. There's Commander, Engineer, Lieutenant, Ensign, Chief, and Cadet. The reason why you have ranks, I think that determines player order, and on occasion he'll come up and say, who is the highest ranking officer? Oh, I will name you this. Or who is the lowest ranking? I will name you this. He'll just give you names for all the different ranks, and he'll start harassing you because of that. So yeah, I don't want to play anything on that anymore and get hit with copyright on a 20-year-old game. I doubt it's going to happen, but who knows? But yeah, this is just a little reminiscing here. It was... Looking back at it, okay, it's a pretty crappy game. But at the same time, back then, it was like revolutionary. Oh my god, it's a Klingon on the TV. He's talking to me while we're playing a Star Trek themed board game. How cool is this, right? I mean, yeah, technology nowadays is completely miles ahead of this. But back then, you have to understand, kids, we had VCRs. There were no cell phones. We went outside and we didn't come home until, if your parents were loud enough to yell for you, that was one thing. Or when the street lights came on, that's when we came home. So back then, technology wasn't as advanced as it was when this first came out, and as it is now. So, yeah, just Star Trek The Next Generation, interactive VCR board game. It's on Tabletop Simulator. You need to own Tabletop Simulator in order to download this free-to-play mod. It's on sale as of the date of this recording. It's 50% off, so if you haven't gotten Tabletop Simulator yet, you may want to. Quick cut, I found a second mod on Tabletop Simulator that actually replicated more of what the game actually looked like. So, for example... Yes, these are the actual standees that we got in the box. Cadet, Chief, Ensign, Lieutenants, and so on. These are somewhat what the tricorders look like. In this particular workshop mod, he's just saying go ahead and remove, one card at a time as you get computer access. And the actual game, there were separate isolinear chips that you would slide into each slot as you got access. But in this particular mod, you just keep going through the cards until you got more access. So there's that. And this is what the phasers look like. Yes, they were just cards. They were just cards that looked like this. Pretty crazy stuff. And this is what the VHS looked like. Yeah. Yes, kids, we played video on giant hunks of plastic filled with magnetic tape, and we liked it just fine. I like the tooltip. that's, that's funny. Yeah, folks, there you go. All right. We're good. All right, well, if you guys haven't already subscribed to me on Twitch and YouTube, that way you can stay up to date with any new content I'm going to publish. This is Vince, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.